Welcome to Packmates, a podcast about Magic the Gathering Limited, where we take a deep dive in the current limited formats. The Packmates are a group of friendly card sharks that love drafting, hanging out, and having fun. Going to F&M, getting them dubs. I'm Ryan, your resident aggro expert.
I'm Roby, the resident Dirtle expert.
I'm Andrew, the resident Kamigawa Neon Dynasty expert.
And I'm Joel, the resident combo expert.
And
we are the Packmates. Today we're going to talk about our pre-release. We just did like a little mini one with some sealed pools. Maybe get into what cards we kind of like and don't in the format. And don't forget to check out our socials and join our Discord. We're happy to help with it, whatever you need help with in the limited world of Magic.
Lots of lively discussion on our Discord about some of the cards that have come out recently in Bloomburrow.
And I did my forms. So if you are interested in those, fill those out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They make you better. They make you better.
Good way to see all the cards, rate them.
Yeah, my forms are just every card in the set by color, and you can rate them from like 1 to 10. So, and it's like a Google form. And if you put your email, you get like a copy of whatever you put up.
Could we see how you rated the cards?
I mean, I don't think you guys can, but like I can. Oh. Like, I mean, you guys can through the thing. Like we can today if you want.
I think if you look back on the forum, you can see how other people responded, but it doesn't identify who they are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, after you fill them, yeah.
I remember looking at it and being like, you guys rated this a 7? What are you smoking?
Yeah.
Skewed by Roby.
I think I probably gave 8. Like I did it really fast today. I probably gave 80% of the cards like between a 5 and an 8. Like,
unless it was that history card that destroyed all artifacts.
Yeah, which is, yeah.
When you're right, you're right.
Sometimes I get a spot on. Like, I'm pretty sure Inspiring Overseer, I gave like a 9.
Hey, who didn't? like people were just like
everyone else except for me, for sure. Like a 9 out of 10. Wingmantle Chaplain, 9 out of 10.
Okay, that one, not everyone saw coming. I'll give you that one.
Organ Hoarder.
I hit it on Scab Wrangler.
Scab Wrangler, yeah. Scab Wrangler was a banger.
We hit those.
Yeah. You can go back and check out our hits. Yeah, rate them. It's a lot of fun.
I'm about to hit right now on.
So what's our
Warren Elder?
Tell us about this format, everyone. What do you think?
It's like a tribal format with a bunch of cute little critters. And we did basically a seal today with 4 people. And yeah, we're about to tell you how it went. Why don't you start us off, Roby?
So I kind of went in kind of crazy, and I put I proceeded to trigger everyone by winning with a 50 card pile.
19 lands.
19 lands.
With 6 drops, double green, double white, double blue.
Yeah.
I kind of just like had a hard time deciding what to cut in this format. Everything seems kind of cool. I wanted to try everything. So I ended up with a 50 card pile and infinity rares, and it was just disgusting. But there was a couple commons and uncommons that I played with that I thought were like pretty exceptional. And one of the craziest ones, and this is going to be the one that just bodies everyone, is Bright Blade Stowat, the 2-mana 2/2 first strike lifelinker. What do you think about that card, Ryan?
It's oppressive. Like
it's scary.
Like I was doming you for like 7 and 8, and you were like clapping back for 4, and you were winning. Like you had like a 2/2, like 2 2/2s, and I had like a 4/4 and a 3/3, and you're like winning the race. Like it was pretty absurd. I had 2 O-rings in my whole deck to deal with it. Like
I was gonna say, like I played the freaking vampire, the 2/2 that mills 2 when I had no graveyard synergies, just 2/2 lifelink. This thing has first strike.
Right.
First strike's so good.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, I forget which format it was, but the like best common by 17 lands metrics was a 2/2 lifelinker.
By like an insane amount, too.
Like,
yeah.
I forget. It wasn't that long ago, but
it wasn't even like, white wasn't even like one of the best colors in that format, I think. Yeah, like it was just like lifelinkers kind of are insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is like particularly extra insane because of first strike. And like, if you ever get a combat trick off on it, it's just GG basically.
Or if you save it the one time they try to kill it. Like,
Yep. And like give it like +3/+3.
Like I had to just like triple block it to kill it. And it's like, oh my God, this hurts.
The last time I saw this card was in Lorwyn. There was a card just like this in Lorwyn, and that card had an insane win rate. Or I don't even know we had win rates really back then. It was just you didn't want to see it against you, like, and it was just really ridiculous. But it's so hard to tangle with those kind of cards and to outrace them, especially when they get them early.
Yeah.
And then another disgusting white uncommon is Driftgloom Coyote, which is like Ravenous Chupacabra, but better. So it's a 5-mana 3/4. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So it's an O-ring, and if it had power 2 or less, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Absurd.
Also, notably, if you hit, an offspring token with that, you're going to get the counter on it because it's always power 1, and the token's gone forever, even if they kill it. All right?
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, absurd amount of protection running around, like in this format, like an absurd amount.
There are a lot of cheap tricks that are giving indestructible.
Every
There's the green
color
one that
but
gives
red.
hexproof.
Right.
The black one that you say that gives indestructible.
Indestructible.
Sorcery speeding your instant speed removal might be legit.
Shore up. They're shore up.
Yeah.
There's just, and like all of them can cost one. Like there's a black one, a white one, a blue one, and a green one that can all cost, the green one might cost 2.
The green one costs 2.
I think there might be a green one that can cost 1, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
I can't think of one. Because there's the one green that gives +3/+3. What is it?
That's like
trample, hexproof, indestructible, reach, maybe? It gives all of the keywords. Right? And that one, what is it? Giant growths come a long ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of the white commons that I thought like overplayed, and it's probably going to overplay pretty hard and sealed, is definitely going to be Nettleguard, the 2-mana mouse soldier. That's a 3/1. It turns into a 3/3 if you can trigger Valiant. But then it just sacks for 1 to destroy an enchantment or artifact, which those cards are always good and sealed.
The green one was +1/+3 in reach, so it doesn't avoid everything, but it's got it.
Does it untap it as well, I think? Yeah. The untap ones always are just so tricky to play around. You're like, I'm safe. Wait.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Pawn Prophet, which is probably my favorite card in the entire set so far. The 2-mana Frog Advisor. That is a 1/1 for hybrid blue-green, 2 hybrid blue-green, and whenever it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Busted. Absurd card.
Elvish Visionary OP.
Busted, bro. It's a frog. It's a frog. It's an advisor, which might help you in your commander decks.
We're big commander players here on the Packmates.
And then my last one I wanted to talk about, because I think people might undervalue it a little bit. Kind of like a synergy card is Tree Guard Duo, the 4-mana Frog Rabbit. 2 semi-relevant creature types. Whenever it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains vigilance and gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control.
I was kind of low on that just because of the lack of trample. Like I feel like it gets chumped, but there's a lot of things that already have trample, right?
There were a lot of times where I could just put it on a flyer and win.
Yeah.
And it just wins you the game kind of a lot of the time. Especially with the 2-mana 1/1 rat that can't be blocked and stuff like that.
I mean, to be fair, you would also cast the paw spells to make 5/1/1.
Yeah.
Which card really won you the game here?
That's true,
I'm just
right?
saying.
But it's kind of just a gross little board, stall breaker kind of. That's how I felt about it. But did you guys have any cards you wanted to talk about?
I had a similar deck to you.
Yep. We played the mirror.
I had a couple standout commons and uncommons. Druid of the Spade was a 3-mana green 2/3, so 2 and a green, and it's a rabbit druid. And as long as you control a token, not even a creature token, just a token, Druid of the Spade gets +2/+0 and trample. And both times I played him, my opponent gifted me a fish. So
I did that.
it's free.
I didn't
it's
realize that.
you don't even have to have tokens, but you will. You will have tokens. And then another card I was super high on. At first I misread this and thought it was good, and it's even better than I initially thought. 1 green for a 3/4 raccoon warrior. Whenever you expend 4 raccoons you control, get +1/+1 and gain vigilance. All your raccoons.
Oh,
It's
are there lots of raccoons?
There were several games where I played that on 3 and then proceeded to expend 4 for 4 turns in a row, maybe even 5. It was the games that and then to pair up with him, I had another raccoon. That's a common. Rush Shield Rampager, 3 and a green for a 4/4 with Offspring 2. So you can make a 1/1, another raccoon. and can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. That line of text was like very
Relevant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of little tokens rolling around. Lots of like guys that could never block it.
How often do you think you offspringed it?
Not as often as I would have thought initially.
I had it in my deck too, and that's how I felt about it.
But-
yeah. It's kind of just fine. It's a 4/4.
Yeah,
Like,
that's like hard to block, right?
yeah.
But when I did, it felt really good. And like one time I offspringed it with the veteran, and it's like now the 1/1's a 2/2.
Yeah,
this
it's
guy's
a 4/4.
5/5. Like it's a problem.
Huh.
It's like when you offspring it and you have the veteran, it's basically inspiring oath.
That's not the right word.
Man.
What's it called? Imperial.
Imperial.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And then like I was unsure about this card, but I put it in my deck. It's the green white signpost. It's an XX rabbit soldier for a green and white. Has trample, and its power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control.
2 mana,
Almost
7/7.
almost every game it was at least a 4/4. Like almost every game at some points in the game. It's a little bit tricky with like there's like quite a bit of first strike and menace and tricks rolling around where they can like it's like kind of hard to block with them. So like be mindful of that. Like if you block a 4/4 and he's a 5/5, but one of your other creatures dies, he's gonna die, right? So that's always tricky with these cards because like I had that out against your 2/2 first striker, and I had like a 3/3 in him, and or like a 1. I don't even remember. It was like 2/2. They were both 2/2s. I had 2 guys, 2/2 in him. But it's like if you first strike my other guy, like this guy doesn't even kill him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was just impossible. And then one of the best commons of the format is Warren Elder, 1 and a white for a 2/2. Rabbit Cleric, pay 4. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Do as many times as you want, whenever you want.
It's okay.
Sick.
It's good and sealed.
Roby O-ringed it.
No.
He had to. Say it. You know you had to.
I O-ringed it rather than using my other removal spell on it because
You wanted the counter.
I wanted the counter for the coyote.
And then you played your own the same turn.
Yeah, I played the attack spell the exact same turn. Yeah,
You played the elder though too.
yeah. I had like 8 mana.
But yeah, that was my deck. It was pretty good. Roby and I both think like Bant's gonna be pretty good at the
Yeah.
release.
There's a lot of sneaky stuff he can do.
Just like lots of raw power in green. That's like kind of hard to miss with.
The white cards seemed like a little crazy, a little push.
The white uncommons,
Yeah,
especially.
uncommons for sure.
Yeah, I was going to talk about a couple of those uncommons. Like one of the ones that was in my deck that I was super impressed with was Shrike Force. It's a 3 mana 1/3 with flying, double strike, and vigilance. So it just, French vanilla, no real abilities, but between the flying, the double strike, and the vigilance.
Those are real abilities.
Yeah. With all the combat tricks running around too, it's a real tough time blocking that thing.
Yeah. No, I bluffed it into Andrew's 3/3 flyer. And he was like, I've seen, like 4 tricks from you. I can't block it.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's just so easy, between the double strike to just randomly blow them out of nowhere. A couple of those combat tricks that went really well with it. I had Crumb and Get It. It's 1 white, and you can gift a food. And target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And if the gift was promised, you give it indestructible.
Oof.
So by giving them a food, you can save your creature from a removal spell, right? And you also get a real stat boost regardless, right? Which makes winning in combat really easy. And it's not like you're gifting them a card. You're gifting them a food. Like, you normally don't care that much,
Right.
right?
I was super impressed with that one.
Yeah, and it also, that combat trick goes really well with Jolly Gerbils. It is 1 and a white for a 2/3, and whenever you give a gift, draw a card. So all of a sudden, I'm giving you a food, and my 1 white +2/+2 indestructible is also drawing me a card.
The best gift you can give, like for your opponent, is for them to draw a card, right? So like, if you do that and it's like you also draw a card, it doesn't feel so bad.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
anything else you give them is like usually worse than a card.
I don't know. The fish is kind of real. A little bit. Not completely. I don't know.
I
We'll
mean,
see.
I feel like if it like gave me the choice between giving them a card or a fish, I would take
Probably-
the fish a lot. Like I would give them the fish a lot.
Yeah.
It obviously would depend on the scenario, right? But like I think I would choose fish more often than card.
Yeah. I was really impressed with Jolly Gerbils because, like, giving them a card is real, obviously. But when you're getting that bonus effect and then you also draw, right, because you're giving them the gift, it just like, you kind of, who cares what you're doing? I'm going to dump my hand on the board way faster than you. And on Boros, I'm going to kill you.
Right.
Right. And like,
Symmetrical draw has been like very good lately.
they've made it way better.
Yeah.
And like with Blooming Blast, it's a 2 mana and it deals 2. But if you give them the gift, you gift them a treasure. it deals 3 to their face as well. Right? So all of a sudden, I'm playing this removal spell that goes 3 to the face and draws me a card.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely insane.
Right.
So I do think finding those little synergies of making those things come together, I'm really excited to draft the Boros deck. I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last card that super impressed me, Quake Tusk Boar, another French vanilla, 5 mana, 5/5, reach, trample, haste.
All the keywords on
Just-
these
yeah.
uncommons. Yeah.
Uncommon keywords, smash face.
If a card has 3 or more keywords,
It's good. It's just good.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
it seems
They should
Yeah.
have given
good.
us a keywords lore.
It doesn't even matter what they are. It's just good.
it should come with an encyclopedia of what all the keywords do. Every pack.
It's, the lands which have the full rules text on them. I need that, but for these cards. Attacking with the creature with vigilance does not cause it to. So on and on and on and on.
Oh man, yeah. I was playing I've actually played Dimir in this one. I thought it was kind of cool. I had a lot of card draw, a little bit of creature destruction, and so I kind of put it all together.
Did you play any rats?
Yeah, there were a couple rats in the
Oh, yeah.
deck.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it was like the rat
it wasn't like
deck.
a theme rat deck. It was actually more of an otter wizard deck.
Oh,
And so I had the rare in there. But one of the otters that actually really surprised me was the 4/4 otter. It's the Daring Wave Rider. It's 2 blue and 4 colorless. And when it enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery with mana value 4 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost, and then you exile it afterwards. And
torrential gearhole.
Yeah, it was super strong. Like, my gosh, yeah.
I said this is just fat caster. Yeah.
Like the body on it. Normally, when you get cards like that, you get like a 2/2 or something.
That's is that rare?
It's uncommon.
Uncommon.
That's an uncommon?
Yeah. So you see those dudes like they're like 2/2s. So this got like a decent body on him, and so it's obviously only as good as the cards around it. And so I was playing quite a bit of removal. Like what Joel was saying earlier, I think I believe it too, that sometimes you may want to just main phase your play your instants as sorceries basically when you're removing creatures, because of just like the sheer amount of tricks that give it destructible, and you just don't want to get blown out by that.
Yeah. I think this is like a format where you really have to like all in when your opponent taps out like a lot of the time.
You
Yeah.
need
If your
to
opponent
know
taps
the
out,
cards
yeah.
for sure
Yeah.
too. Like if somebody's representing something, you need to know.
What they're representing.
Yes.
I'm going to be bluffing a lot.
Oh,
this
me too.
format.
Me too.
And you cannot
I'm gonna
stop
be
me.
completely
Especially
full
with
of
all
shit.
the one drop like tricks that are there. You were talking about the trail
Crumb and get it.
Crumb
It's the
and get it.
+2/+2.
Yeah, exactly. Like a crumb and get it. Like I got by that earlier today. It's just because I was like, oh, look at that. It's just the mana dork was up. And I was like, oh, what could they really do? And indestructible, boom, dead. And so I was like, holy smokes. Like it just made my removal that much worse. You're trying to get them in combat, trying to get those eke out that extra value with your removal spells. And it may just be better just to main phase them. Not all the time, obviously, but you got to really be aware of these kind of things.
Yeah.
And just know that the blowout potential is there.
In some sets, you if it's an instant, always play it at instant speed. Here, you're going to sometimes, but yeah, I do think you should really consider playing it at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing.
And it's also depending on what your life total's at.
The matchup, right?
Yeah,
like if you're playing against someone that's playing a ton of buffs,
Yeah.
you're a little bit more incentivized to block, force the instant, and 2 for 1. Right.
Like if you don't got the life total buffer,
right.
I would not gamble with that. And especially like if they got a couple of cards and they've been holding. Anyways, just I wouldn't gamble too much with it if you're at like a pretty low life total. If you got the high life total, it might be worth it to try to get that 2 for 1. But yeah. And so that was kind of where I was at. Just a solid kind of thing. I thought the removal also hurt a little bit when all these offspring cards were coming up. That was a little tough to deal with as well. There were so many good, like just extra value on the creatures there that's really kind of hard to keep up if you're not doing that kind of thing, or you're just trying to bury them in like more cards. Like there's a couple of draw threes, like what is it, Mind Spiral, that you gift them a fish, you get to stun their guy, draw the cards, which was all right. But when you're getting to that later game, I felt like I was kind of lacking a little bit when I just had a little bit more removal. I was lacking that kind of oomph to get around the people who were kind of going wide as they went up the curve.
The top end. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
the card that really helped me in our matchups was Manifold Mouse. It's a rare. It's a 1 in a red with 2 offspring for 2.
Yeah.
At the beginning of combat on your turn, target mouse you control gains your choice of double strike or trample.
Disgusting. Yeah.
And so I would always just target like one of my Valiant mice. And all of a sudden I'm attacking with my 2 mana creature and it's a 3/3 double strike trample.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, you really want to deal with that, because you're getting hit for 6.
Yeah.
And like even if you try to kill Manifold Mouse, there's 2 of them. All right?
Yeah.
Like it is really, really easy to get a 2-for-1 on a lot of the offspring. But and this one's a rare, obviously. It's a little pushed.
Did you have that rabbit that it's like a 3/2 for 3 with offspring 1, and when it ATBs, target creature just gets +1/+1? The offspring 1 on that was nutty. Like 4 mana, a 3/2, and a 1/1 that both give like buffs to whatever you want.
That would have been so good in my deck because I had so many Valiant things, and I had a few ways to trigger them. Other than that, I had 3 or 4. But I was mostly using tricks to trigger them, right? Having just some more consistent ways to add to the board, buff my guys, get in, would have been so good. And I can imagine in draft, you can pull that off really consistently.
Yeah.
Intrepid Rabbit is what it's called. Offspring 1 is just absurd. Like it shouldn't exist.
1 mana is not a real cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Like when it's 3 and you have or a 2 and you have a 4-drop, like I could play this now, or I could like not be mana efficient and hope to get to 6. It's like a bit more of a decision. But when it's 3 and you have something else to do, it's like, I'll just play this on 4. It'll be sick.
Yeah, those guys seem pretty fair. Most of the offspring guys kind of are in the vanilla area already. And so they kind of have good bodies for the most part. Then when you get that offspring, like when you're like, oh, we're going to go a little bit later. Okay, well, I don't have to play this on that turn, or maybe I was doing something else. And you just get a little bit, it's just more mana sinks. A little kicker, a little extra. And then a lot of them have great abilities too. So
I like the bird one too. It's like a 3 mana 2/2 for 3. And when ATBs, it's a 2/2 flyer for 3. Offspring is also 3 though, but when ATBs give something flying, like just sick. You can give 2 things flying just out of nowhere and have 2 flyers left over.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that brings us to our next topic. I think like Offspring and Expend to me are like very good mechanics, like in Sealed. Very powerful mechanics.
Yeah, it is super easy to expend. Like,
Yeah.
you should not be thinking about this as like remotely difficult. I initially evaluated it as like, it takes a little bit, and no, you're going to do it nearly always.
Yep. And then like the Offspring thing is just like, you should consider that as a bonus. Like, oops, I drew my 4-drop on turn 7. Like, you know what I mean? And now I can have 2 4-drops. Like, not really 2, but you know what I mean? Like,
I think that is the kind of thing you should consider when you're thinking about land count, though.
Yeah.
Where if you just look at where things are on the curve, right, you might be thinking, oh, I only need 16, 15 lands for this deck. But then if you have like 5 or 6 things with Offspring, you might want to go a little higher on your mana just so that you can actually pay that sometimes.
It does feel to me kind of like an 18 land format for the green decks specifically.
Green definitely feels like it can go super late, super big.
Super big. Yeah.
Like it goes over the top of so much.
Yep. I don't know. I'm very anti 18 lands. I don't know if I've literally ever done it in my life. And I don't plan on doing it today.
I played 19 today.
Well, you played 50 cards. I'm also a staunch proponent against anything besides 40.
And I'm a staunch
41 for the spice. It gets in your opponent's head.
It does. It does. It really does.
I was 19 once. I played 41. Every once in a while. It's like, all these cards are good. I don't need to cut one.
Whenever I'm playing competitively, I will play 40. But when I want to do a little bit of trolling,
I play 50.
I am not Roby. I'm not that insane. I'd like to distance myself from this.
Roby came in tonight with the intention of triggering us, and he succeeded.
I will say the rares are nutty for sure.
Yeah.
Like they felt I did just have like an insane rare pile.
Yeah.
But like they all felt like very, very powerful.
I know when I was like rating the cards and I rated the multicolored rares, I was like, maybe one of these is like a 5 or a 6, but the rest are 8s and plus, like better. Like all of them.
Everything felt so strong. And I was playing all of my rares except for one, and they were all crazy.
I'm a little worried about Sealed for this format being a little bit like MH3, right? Like, I played a lot of MH3 Sealed, and it definitely felt super swingy. Right? And it feels somewhat similar, very first impressions. Right.
is very swingy for sure.
But-
Like there were times where I looked like I was just dead and then just blew out my opponent with just one random rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Or
Like,
just 3 random uncommons.
yeah, definitely pretty fun though, for sure. I like swingy formats.
And 50% of your mana and 20% of your cards. Which is usually a bad thing. So impressive, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of tanking when people are considering giving gifts to other people. And I feel like that's going to considerably slow down.
I was going to say, calling it now, and I would put a bet on this, 20% of pre-release matches going to time.
Absolutely.
They might not finish on time, but they're hitting turns.
Yeah, absolutely. I could believe that.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like for me, like the gift cards I played were like fairly obvious when to do it and when not to. Like that 2/2 indestructible one. It's like, is my guy gonna die? Yes, I'll give you a thing. If is my guy not gonna die? No. I'm not
I think
gonna
the
give you
only
a thing.
ones that are difficult are when it's giving them a card or a fish. If it's a food and you get any benefit, gift them a food every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's
What
a
if they're
card or a
foraging?
fish,
A food could be a card for them if they're foraging.
not really.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to forage anyway,
Yeah.
like 85% of the time, sometimes more.
I kept forgetting about foraging. The food part of that was like so irrelevant to me most of the time.
Well, yeah, you weren't focused on it.
Yeah.
You just had
Yeah.
like a couple random cards that did it, right?
Yeah.
I feel that'll be more for the drafting when you're able to like actually get the like the food side of the forage, not the like 3 cards in graveyard. 3 cards in graveyard, you'd probably be able to do that in sealed anyways.
I don't think foraging is like that big of a mechanic. I think it's like mostly in green with like a little touch and maybe a couple other things.
I think it's just in green and black,
yeah, that's what I think too.
and primarily in green.
Mostly rares too.
Yeah, there's a couple other
Yeah.
ones, but yeah, it's not. It's definitely not like as big of a mechanic as like Offspring or Expand or that sort of thing. Gifting is like we all had gift cards.
For sure.
Gifting was in every color, right?
Yeah.
I think
For the
so.
most-
Yeah, I think everything has gifting. I don't know how many gifting payoffs there are. I think just
Just
the
the
The only
mouse.
one I
one-
saw
Is it
was
just
Jolly
the-
Gerbils.
That's
that
the only one I've
draw.
seen too. Yeah.
Which
Not a mouse. Not a mouse, which
I was upset by this deeply. It's a hamster. It looks like mice. What are we doing here?
I think
You
when
in
you're
college, there's differences. You know, there's just something makes them different. I don't know what it is.
Wizards R&D, make it a mouse.
It would have been too strong. It would have been too strong as a mouse.
I'm okay with pushing Boros mice. I want to draft Boros and Smash Face.
I feel like that was like a last second decision. We already did the art, make it a gerbil.
I totally believe that. 100%. This people in playtest were like, this card is so annoying to play against. Why did we let Boros of all decks draw cards?
yeah. Oh man.
Like, imagine your Boros aggro opponent just suddenly outgrinding you out of nowhere when you're playing grindy late game.
And then like the exec's like, but what if we made it a gerbil? And the other guy's like, the tester's like, yeah, that could work.
I kind of felt like that when I was playing you today, in our sealed decks. And I was drawing like tons and tons of cards, and I'd go over. I was like, Joel, how many cards do you have? And he's like, 5. I was like, what? How the heck?
He drew actually 10 cards. And I'm like, okay, I got 5 cards in hand. I'm going to offspring all these things, make a million dudes.
Yeah, just the extra value was just out there. I mean, it was out carding my card advantage per se, you know?
Like, yeah, you use a card to
Or my
draw
card
some
draw,
cards,
yeah.
right? And then you use a card to kill one thing that made 2 things. And you're like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah, it was. It was like, oh my gosh, what did I do with all that mana with all those cards that I used to have? Oh my gosh.
tons of enters effects and stuff
Yeah.
too. Like,
I do think removal might be a little worse in this set.
yeah, I think it's just gradually been getting worse and worse, right? And they're like, they're trying to slim it down. Like, they made murder cost 1 less, but it's a sorcery or whatever. But like, it's still just, it only does one thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Why do one thing when you can do 3 things with one
Right.
card?
Banishing Verse felt ultra blowoutable on this set.
yeah, it did not feel good.
Yeah, specifically that one. Yeah.
It did not feel good. But I will say, I think like in certain decks, there's a lot of blink where you can like kind of counteract that
Yeah.
a little bit. But like there's like an uncommon 2/1 flash that blinks something or returns it to your hand, and it's a flyer. Like that seems absurd as an uncommon. 2/1 flyer flash blink something or return something like that. Seems just busted to me. And it's a bird, not a
Randomly looking at
Hawk.
creature types, I think paying attention to creature types is going to be really important. And I don't I don't love it. I'm not a huge tribal fan. But in this set, I think you definitely need to be paying attention to what random creature types X, Y, and Z creatures have.
Yeah, I have very limited knowledge of the stuff. Like I did read all the cards, but like obviously I didn't like retain every creature type and all that. But I do think like if you're like fairly new or inexperienced or maybe don't know all the cards or whatever, I think like if you're like, I like mice and you just draft mice, like you're gonna have a decent deck. Or if you're like, I like lizards and you draft like stuff that says lizards, like your deck's gonna be fine.
It does feel very new player friendly in that, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. New players are good.
Yeah.
New fish.
Gifting fish. So
So what kind of tips could we give to people when they're going to the pre-release this weekend or actually this weekend, because when this episode comes out, it'll probably be Friday. But what do you do? Like, what are you doing there? Like, what kind of tips do you give?
sealed specifically.
Yeah,
I would say take a second look at all your off-string cards before you cut them. One, like I think they're just like super impressive because they're basically modal, right? They could be played at turn 4, turn 7, or turn 3 or turn 4, whatever. And having options is always a good problem to have. I would say expend 4 is free, but not all of the expend 4 mechanics are like worthwhile. But some of them are very good.
Yeah, like look at it and like if you trigger the expend, is this card worthwhile?
Yeah.
You know, if you're triggering it most turns.
Like, yeah, I would say you could bank on doing it like 50% of times.
I'd say higher than that.
Probably higher, but like floor 50%,
Sure.
right? And if the card is good enough, like as half the time it's the thing, then it's probably worth playing. I would say you're gonna have lots of synergy pockets.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
You're not gonna have a full cohesive deck in sealed, so you kind of have to bounce around a little bit.
I think sealed is, at least in this format from what I've seen so far,
Mhm.
it's going to be a balance of finding those synergy pockets you were talking about, right? Of, like these cards work really well together. Like I had the Manifold Mouse I was talking about with the Double Strike Tramplers, and then the Valiant guys were just, really good together. But it's also just, some playing the good cards of, what colors have my insane bombs? Because there are some very, very swingy things.
Man.
Yeah.
And I think one thing is that people fall into the trap of, oh, I have X bomb, I have to be an X color.
Yeah.
Right. And that just isn't the case. If you have, some bomb and you have, like 18 cards you want to play and you're stuck playing 5 pretty bad cards in your deck, look at some other decks.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to draw that bomb every game. And if you don't, and you're just going to lose, then that's not a deck you want to be in.
Is this format one that, or the set actually, is this one where you can splash?
No.
I think
Very
you
easily.
Definitely
I think you
not.
can lightly splash. I
Very
don't think you
lightly.
can. I think like in sealed, you'll get paid off for going 2 colors. Like,
For sure.
I think a lot of the winners will be 2 colors, and then if you get like a slight 2 or 3 cards with like 1 pip of a different color, you could probably do that if you wanted to. But it kind of depends on what you have.
Is the fixing pretty weak?
Yeah.
Yes.
No dualies. No
Oh.
dualies.
There's a
fixing
tap land that like taps, you have to pay 1 and then it taps for any color.
That like screwed me. I played 3 of those. It's like, oh, I get a surveil and I'm like basically a 2-color deck with like splashing, right? I was like, so I can play 3 of these and it's not going to hurt me that bad. And
The pips are-
it did hurt. It did.
Format's fairly color intensive for
Yeah.
sure. I feel like it's kind of back to the roots of like you don't really get to splash very much unless you're at least in green. Because there's like mana dorks in green. There's like a common.
There's a lot of green mana dorks that tap for mana of any color.
Yes.
Like a lot of like quote unquote traditional mana dorks, they like tap for green, right? And then some of like the lower statted ones tap for mana of any color. We have like 2 mana 2/2s that tap for mana of any color.
2 mana 1/3. Yeah.
Yeah, like exactly. Like just find stat creatures, tap for mana of any color. So if you're doing like that green thing, your base green, maybe you can splash.
Yep.
But any of the other color combos, like today, I had an absolutely bonkers. It's like the infamous Cruel Claw rare in Rakdos, right? It lets you, when you hit, it's a 3/3 menace. You flip from the top till you hit a non-land card. You cast it by just discarding a card. No mana,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, I'm not
Insane.
splashing it.
Insane card.
Yeah,
Insane.
absolute bomb, 3 mana, 1 black pip. And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to splash this because the fixing is just so bad, right? And playing off tempo also feels pretty rough.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah,
Like
for sure.
even against like the slower grindy decks, I really needed to be getting on the board. And I felt like they did too.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like you had the luxury of taking some time to, play some more tap lands.
in my 50 card Dirtle deck, I did have 2 first strike weasels, right? Like you're just gonna have stuff like that you're gonna have to deal with for sure.
Yeah, definitely, keep your curve lower, get on the board, try to stay 2 color.
And those
For
double
sure.
pip cards are good. A lot of them.
Yep.
A lot of those double pip cards are.
It's usually gonna pay you off more just playing your good double pip cards than like having to lean into another color for sure.
And this is Roby saying this.
And
You know it's true.
I did good with the 3 color deck, and I think it was probably wrong, right? Like for sure.
What do you think, Andrew? What tips you got for this format?
Oh, that was definitely the mana, just like the mana fixing of this format is
That's
so
what
bad.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
too.
that was the main. I was
It
trying to
seems
steer it
real
that way
bad.
because I was like,
The 2-1 shapeshifter's sick.
yeah.
Yeah, that one,
Filter.
having all creature types is surprisingly relevant in this
Right.
format.
I think
yeah.
always double check when your opponent has things with like has to do with specific creature types. Just not to say they're trying to do anything underhanded, but double check because there's a lot of creatures that really do look like other creatures. Like we had the gerbil.
Gerbil math.
Yeah. And it just happens, and especially with a format that's so new, just take a second.
Yeah, there's like a lot of creatures that are like 4 creature types on them. And they like buff them or something, right?
Mhm.
Like bird, squirrel, mouse, whatever.
Yep.
And even I was like, oh, that's not a thing. Like, and I swung with it and it was already too late, right? Like
Yep.
it was like I messed up and I lost my dude because I misplayed. Well, I mean, luckily we were just playing for fun, so I could take it back. But I gave information I didn't have to give. But it's like, don't assume that just because this says 4 things that your dudes are those 4 things or their dudes are those 4 things. Because 4 things is a lot, but it's not all the things.
Yep. Also lie a lot. Bluff stuff for sure. Like
Okay, maybe not as much at pre-release because they won't know what you
they won't know, but
Depends
like
on your win rate, how much you can bluff, right?
but like
If you're
the
3-0,
trick
bluff
is-
it all the time.
the trick is scare them one time. Once somebody gets blown out by something, they're terrified of it.
Yeah, it's like they
have like
touch the fire,
emotional reaction to it.
My favorite example of this is playing Mana Tithe and then board Mana Tithe out every single time.
Oh yeah.
They're
Oh, for
playing
sure.
a turn off curve for the rest of games 2 and 3. Cards not even in the deck.
got him.
Oh yeah. Like genuinely, like once you scare somebody, don't be afraid to lie for sure. Like
And like play into it a little bit. Have some fun with it. Definitely like consider playing the 1 mana card, kind of tap your mouth. No. And they will eat it up.
That's a tell. That's a tell. You would never do that if you actually had the card.
But I have occasionally when I'm tired, especially.
I'm gonna Hollywood it so good against you. Just be like tapping, untap, but I'm actually gonna have it.
You know who I am. I'm going to call it every time.
Yeah,
You know that.
Against you, I just
like-
treat my combat trick as a removal spell.
Yeah.
yeah, me too.
Well, it's like, it depends on the game, right? Like sometimes I won't call, obviously, like creature valuation, right? Like if I have this rare thing and you have this common thing, like it's not worth the block. Like regardless of whether I think you have or you don't have it, whatever, like it doesn't matter. It's not worth it. But when it's like parity, you're either going to use this and you're winning or something, like you're either going to use this to hurt me or to just kill my dude. Sometimes I'd rather you just kill my dude. Like you're going to get him eventually, right? Like why not just make you do it now and throw off your plan for the rest of the turn or something? Slow you down a little bit.
yeah. Yeah.
Like I made Roby use +3/+3 and trample on blocks, right? Like and that felt so good. Like I lost my dude, sure, but
It
I'm not
felt
getting
good
trampled out
to
of nowhere.
use it for
yeah,
me.
I'm sure.
Like I was like sick.
Yeah.
But then I just drew another one and blew you out again.
Right. Yeah. You just have 2 of them.
Draws both 50 cards, by the way.
Yeah.
50 cards.
2 mana, first strike lifelink on 2, like 3 games in a 50 card deck.
Oh my gosh.
Checks out.
I was running hot. I will say I was running ridiculously.
Absolutely just like sun hot. Like no matter what he did, like he could not have lost if he tried.
Perfect mana every time.
It was always forest.
Oh, yeah. Natty Bant. Natty Bant.
Island.
Every time Natty Bant. Like he's like, I was like making his like, he had me hand him cards for his mana base. And he's like, give me 6 islands, 5 forests.
I refuse
Like,
to do
no, like 6
like,
islands, 7 forests, and like 7 planes. Like that's like so many cards. I was like, what are you doing? There's actually only 5 islands. Like, okay.
I'm notorious. I refuse to do mana-based math.
Okay.
I think it's always wrong.
I
genuinely.
go by vibes way more than I should because I'm
Yeah.
too lazy to do that. But I don't go like that. Like
I follow
even
my
distribution
heart.
of 3 colors.
I follow my heart. I build emotional mana bases.
He trusts them, and they return that trust.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a two-way street for sure.
So this is why I've been losing. I don't trust my mana base.
Yeah.
You don't trust
Me
it.
too. That's why I have to
I'm
mulligan all
always-
the time, and because of these sleeves. Something wrong with these sleeves. Shuffling this stuff, clumping it all together.
Oh yeah.
I was keeping terrible hands too, and just getting rewarded all night long, genuinely.
I think his goal is just to tilt us to oblivion.
Yeah, he came in with that agenda for sure.
Coming in hot for sure.
Like, 50 cards, 19 lands. I heard that 7 times today.
Do that at pre-release. I'm begging you.
I probably will.
Knowing you,
I probably will. I doubt I'm gonna have as nutty of a pool as I had tonight, though.
if you do, I will be deeply upset.
Yeah, all on color rares.
So you open your pool. What color are you wanting to see more of anything else in there?
White.
Or green, but like I'm also really high on the birds deck. Like I think if you get a ton of birds, it could be just insane. I think like a birds deck will take down a pre-release.
I feel like that's more a draft deck than a pre-release deck.
Yeah, I think it can come together is what I'm saying though.
I mean, anything can, but like just like odds-wise, I feel like that is definitely a synergy deck, right? High synergy.
Yeah.
Seal tends to be lower synergy, higher power. than
Well,
draft.
there's just a ton of flyers. Like just a ton of flyers is just good, right?
It can be, but there's also a
this-
lot more reach in this set compared to most sets.
True.
I don't remember what percent higher it was, but it was a significant percent higher than average for the amount of reach creatures in the set. And that's something to be aware of. It's your flyers will get blocked. This is not, the OG sets where it's flyers are just unblockable.
Yeah. I'm infinitely more excited to draft than I am to sealed.
Yeah, I am very burnt out on sealed right now. I would much, much rather draft.
Definitely some deep synergy pockets for sure, especially for draft. It's gonna be fun.
A lot of the rares like synergize with like random things that don't have normal synergy pieces that like common or uncommon too. Like they just like pay you off for doing a thing that you wouldn't normally be doing.
Yeah,
Or maybe not normally be doing, but you normally wouldn't have a payoff for, I guess I should say. Which I guess is true a lot of the time, but it feels like it stands out more in this.
it feels like just for having sealed decks, we're all doing like really ridiculous, outrageous things.
I think there's some
For
trap synergy pieces though.
For sure. Like the +1/+1
Yeah.
counter enchantment is unplayable in sealed.
Oh, all the pause cards are amazing too.
Yep, all
Yes.
of them. Every single one.
Give me my 12 paws.
Yeah. You can't handle it. Stop. You're scaring me.
You're only
Is there
scared
any
'cause you
that
know I
cost
can.
4 that you can get back with Torrential Gearhulk Otter?
Pause? No.
No,
They're 5 or 6.
5 and above.
Yeah.
Yep. Dang.
They knew what they were doing with that.
They knew what
They
they
did
were
not
doing.
give me cheap paws because I would have abused it.
I'm excited for that for a Torrential Gearhulk Otter. That's sick. I had no idea that was a
Every
thing.
time he played it against me, I was disgusted. It was
It's like a 4/4 too,
Yeah,
right?
it's a 4/4.
It was-
That's outrageous.
It was just Flame Tongue Kavu. It's Flame Tongue Kavu, but with 4 toughness.
It's Flame to Kavu. Flame to Kavu said murder.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you think I had anything that had enough toughness to survive anyway, I'm in Boros.
Right.
But yeah, he would go fell, flashback fell.
Yep.
That's
Saw
gonna
it.
be sick. I'm excited for that card. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the deck where someone has like 4 of those and then just like 10 removal spells.
That's
That could
their
be a
only
deck.
creature.
Yeah.
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 No,
It
'cause-
could be.
okay.
I've played decks like that as long as I've been playing Magic. Right?
In every set, people generally, I feel like they don't like to draft blue because at least in more recent sets, not always. Blue generally it's like weaker, more synergistic. Like it can get there, but I feel like it's rarely the best color. Right.
It's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work. Yeah.
So there's definitely gonna be some time. You're the only blue drafter at the table. You get all of them, and you just sweep everyone.
For sure. Yep.
and it will not be me because I will not be caught dead drafting blue.
Shore up's back, baby. Shore up's back. Blue's good again. Shore up's back.
That is some copium.
You got Palm Prophet. That's a blue card. That's disgusting.
That's a green card, actually.
It's a blue-green card.
It's a green card
play it
with
blue.
sneaky blue.
You can play it with just islands in your
But
deck.
that would require you to put islands in your deck.
What was that card from Strixhaven that like put a attacking creature on top for 3?
Bury and
Back.
Bliss.
That's back.
Really? Is it? It's like straight reprint.
Dire Downdrift, 3 and a blue instant. Costs 1 less if it targets an attacking or tapped creature. Target creature goes on top or bottom. So
Well,
3 mana
Sick. Yeah.
when it's attacking.
That's good.
It's like kind of better than Marion Books. Because
Yeah.
Marion Books was 5 or 3, right? This is 4 or 3. And it's an instant, obviously, but because it says attacking creature on it. But
There's also prowess in this set. Sneaky prowess with that.
yeah,
There is a surprising number of creatures with prowess.
lots of little otters running around.
The sneaky little otters.
Sneaky little otters.
Yep. So, do we have anything else? No, we got this week.
Yep.
Sounds good. Yeah. Do Ryan's forums. They'll make
Join
you
the
better.
Discord.
For sure.
yeah.
Join the Discord.
Yeah.
We'll give you all the tips you want.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That's
on
all
you.
we got this week.
Catch you boys on the Flippity Flop.
Bye.